Um, so really quick, I just like you to kind of like introduce yourself, for some people that may not be kind of like familiar with your work and kind of like with what you're doing. Just let a couple of people know, and then from there we can kind of take it from there.
My name is Tasneem. I started calling myself Hoodrat Feminist in about October 2016 because I was an undergrad student at the New School in Manhattan. I was studying acting, directing, playwriting, and I was really starting to discover like the feminist in me. I was starting to discover like how Black feminism and womanism really shows up in my life and how it provides like tools for me to survive.
Got it.
So yeah, I came to Instagram and I started creating like a bunch of different content, doing like photo shoots and making these videos called Do-Rag Diaries. Because at the time I had like a really short haircut.
Okay.
So I was actually wearing a do-rag to like keep my waves spinning. So I started doing those kind of videos, just talking about my own personal experiences, like growing up in the hood. And realizing like as a young girl, how many things were happening to me that were like traumatic experiences that were normalized because of where I was at, and everyone around me, all of my other friends, were dealing with the same thing. So now fast forward April 2020, I've started a podcast, just trying to get Black women specifically to prioritize pleasure in their lives and to know that they are worthy and deserving of pleasure. Yeah, so it's kind of like things that I'm really excited about.
Like, so I have a question. Like right now, we're going through a lot of like with the coronavirus and with the quarantine. How would you kind of recommend that women can kind of like, I guess, during this period of kind of like, this has really kind of been a reflection or like an inflection point for a lot of people where all of our lives are basically kind of like slowed almost to a stop. I guess, what would you recommend from like a feminism side for like a woman who's trying to get like a better understanding of her deeper self and her like sensuality or sexuality like during this period?
Honestly, like if you're on the side of someone who just has to social distance and someone who has the privilege of staying home during this time, I think this gives us an opportunity to really explore and figure out what we like if you didn't know before. So if you weren't someone who was into like taking bubble baths, or if you didn't have the time to, make a playlist of music that makes you feel sexy, if you didn't know what kind of wine you like to drink, if you didn't, have any sex toys, if you were even curious about that kind of thing, now is the time. It may take a little longer, to come to you because it's hard to order things right now. But now is the time to really explore and figure out what works for you. If you want to masturbate with your hands, like just even getting into self-exploration. If you smoke weed, figure out like what makes you most present in your body and how can you experience pleasure in that way, like prioritizing yourself.
God. Now, what would you recommend for, I guess, some of the women that, a lot of times, like depending upon, like you talk about like kind of like what it was like, when a lot of us kind of like grow up in the hood, or kind of like what it's like to get out after. What would you recommend for a lot of women that may not necessarily be able to fully appreciate pleasure because of how they grew up? Like whether it was kind of like the church influence, whether it was kind of like the parenting influence, whether or not they dealt with like physical or emotional abuse. Like
I've definitely struggled with that myself. I've struggled with that myself, just like trying to unlearn everything that I know. For the most part, it's like everything that I learned about sex and my own body, I had to get it out of my head. So it took me to read like Black feminist literature that was like written for me, trying to find myself through books, trying to find myself through other artists who are doing that kind of work, people who are making feminist art, people who are like sex content creators, like adult content creators who are prioritizing the woman's body. Like I had to surround myself, even who I follow on Instagram, with people who are like constantly promoting like self-love, constantly promoting like you're beautiful, you deserve pleasure, you deserve love. And there's so many different resources on the internet specifically.
And like I guess like who would be like 2 or 3 people that you would recommend for like people that may not know? Like you're like expert level right now, right? Like you've gone through the journey.
I'm growing.
Yeah, like you've been in like the beginning, the middle, and now like you're on the later part, right? So like if you're speaking to yourself, like let's say like 3, 4, 5 years ago, like what would you recommend to that version of yourself?
Honestly, It started in Zane books for me, even when I was a
The
kid.
Zane books.
I really love Zane books because Zane was about like Black people having great sex, where they were both like prioritizing each other's bodies. A few internet content creators that I really like. So Narissa Nefertiri, I really, really love the work that she does. Professor Gaia is like an OG in the game, like with her whole Black Porn Matters movement, like even back in the day. Like she's someone that I really look up to because we have like similar body types, and she helped me to see beauty in myself. Glamazon Tayomi, Afrosexology. It's like so many pages, and even podcasts that make you feel like, yo, I deserve to explore my body no matter how old I am. You're never too late to prioritize yourself.
Now, one of the things that you really talk about that's really, really interesting is like the reflection of like Black women's bodies and really being able to kind of find beauty within those in a system that may not necessarily see those as beautiful, right? Like, I guess, how do you begin to craft the story and the appreciation that's like outside of like that mainstream so that people can really kind of like get to that point? Because I'm sure it's like self journey as well as like educating others to be like people don't like, you know, a lot of times like people will say you don't realize you're in the dark until somebody turns on the light, right? So like how do you work towards like bringing people to the light?
Honestly, it was this concept. There was a book that I read called Sister Citizen by Melissa Harris Perry. In one chapter in the book, she talks about something called a crooked room. And so a Black woman coming into consciousness, as you start to realize your own potential, as you start to realize everything that's wrong in the world and you try to stand up straight, you are in a crooked room. So you can't stand up straight. Like you start feeling like you're crazy because you learn all these things. You're reading Bell Hooks and Alice Walker, and you start to feel good about yourself. And then you go on the internet and you start seeing, you know, people on Twitter talking all kind of shit. You see, you know, you getting cheated on, you getting all these experiences. So it really requires you to channel that energy inside. Like you cannot worry about outside influences as you're trying to unlearn. Because the more that you think about other people's opinions of the journey that you're on, it's going to take you out of it. So it's about journaling. I do a lot of journaling, like talking to myself. Wow. More than I probably should. Like I journal so much.
But like outside, because these are like really, really good points that people can also begin to take on as well. So like outside of journaling, it seems like a lot of this was also kind of like a process of finding your own voice.
Exactly.
Right? Like,
exactly.
Like, and that must come kind of like with a give and take, and where like confidence at some point may not be necessarily what it is, or even if it's there, you may not know how to fully express it. Like, how do you speak to somebody else that's kind of going through that journey as well?
Honestly, I feel like on the internet, we kind of grow up in front of each other. So it really takes like stripping the shame away, because I used to be a lot more like boisterous than I am now. I used to like make my videos like half naked, like just talking as much shit as I possibly could, like pissing my mother off, like talking shit about my father on the internet. So of course, like my 2016 self is a totally different version of me than I am now, but I'm not ashamed of that because that was a part of my trial and error. And anyone who's been on this journey with me is just coming with me. You kind of just going with the flow, and I'm going with your flow too. We're just learning each other and figuring it out. And it's okay to retract things that you've already done because you're growing. You're consistently growing. That's the only thing that is constant. I don't expect you to be the same person you were last year. So yeah, that's something that I've really had to come to terms with, and I had to make peace with. Like, I may not think the same way 6 months from now, but that's not going to stop me from being loud and proud about what I wholeheartedly believe in right now. Like, I used to be on some people like, niggas ain't shit, you know, and then I like kind of changed my rhetoric a little bit.
But do you almost like think that like that's almost like part of that learning process where you almost have to go to like one extreme to then kind of find out like what your level of comfort is within this whole like experience?
Yes, definitely. It's all about like getting that confidence. It may not come out in the form of you making videos on the internet or having a vlog or a blog or writing articles. It may not be that. For you, it may be, you know, sitting at the Thanksgiving table and going back and forth with your uncle about why, you know, your niece don't need to go put some pants on. You know, like it's things like that. Like it may come out in a different way.
Got it.
Yeah,
Got
but
it.
it's
Got
just
it.
all about figuring out what it is for you, what your language is to communicate your own freedom, like your own liberation. What does that look like for you? It doesn't look the same for everybody.
Got it. Got it. Got it. So
Yeah.
before we continue on, I just want to let everybody know, like right now with Tasneem, like the Hoodrat Feminist, expert on like relationships and all things
Don't call
female
me an expert.
sensuality, like
I'm
and
learning. I'm a student. I'm a student, like a
like
professional student.
all
I
right,
call
like you're
myself.
advanced level, like but if anybody has any questions, like don't hesitate to kind of like put them out there. You know, we're blessed with this moment of her time, and like I'm definitely appreciative, and if anybody has any questions, don't hesitate to post it and we'll make sure to get to it all. So like one other question that I you know, before anybody else asks their questions, I definitely had a couple. Like one of the things that I really found that was really interesting with you was like your appreciation of music and also its impact, right? Like how have you been able to kind of channel like Black feminism with and kind of find music that really expresses that, and
Yeah.
how has that been able to play a role in your life?
Well, honestly, I studied musical theater for like the first, I don't know, I would even say like 15 years of my life. So music and performance has always been really, really important to me. And my senior year of high school, I did a production of For Colored Girls. So that was my first time like experiencing themes of Black feminism in art. And as I started to get older, I realized that the music that I really, really love is music that I can relate to. I think music is just a love language that we can all relate to. So I started a music discussion club like back in the day, where I just wanted a bunch of women to get together and talk about music. And I was really struggling with like the theme for that and how we were going to do it, just because there was no social distancing. We weren't really used to doing things on Zoom. So I was like, maybe
Yeah,
we should just meet at my house and play music. But it wasn't working out. So now in this current moment, I've been working on a project called Lady Link Up, and it's going to be on Zoom. It's bi-weekly, so it's like every other Sunday, and we get together and discuss works of art by women and queer artists. So I know when I was like 15, the miseducation of Lauryn Hill started to hit me in like a whole new way.
yeah,
And like Voyage to India. India Arie's Voyage to India album like changed my life. And so thinking about people who have been consistently, even Keisha Cole's The Way It Is, people who have been consistently like prioritizing Black women in their music, especially if they're Black women, I always celebrated their art. And so I would love to celebrate like in community with other women. I didn't even limit it to just Black women, but I always prioritize the art by Black women, especially when I'm coming to the table with a suggestion. But it's been really fun. We had one meeting so far. It was 2 Sundays ago. Next one is May 3rd. I closed the submissions now because it's getting a little big. I got like 52 submissions. I'm like, I don't know how we're all going to get a chance to talk. But yeah, it's been really, really cool so far. This week's actual task is to create playlists of 10 songs by women or a queer artist that you have to listen to for the rest of your life, and you can't listen to anything else besides these 10 songs. Wow. So it really requires you to like get creative. You gotta get crafty. Like of course I have some Amy Winehouse on there. Wow. What is it about men? And I got Keisha Cole's I Should Have Cheated. Like it's so many songs that like so before I was even cheated on, I related to these songs.
So if we're gonna listen to like 3 songs that are like at the top of your list for right now, and then there's a question that somebody had posted, I'm gonna put that up after. But if there are 3 songs that are on your playlist right now, what are those 3?
Right now, I keep trying to keep it really, really positive. So it's not one of these songs is not on the playlist just because I have to keep my mind strong. Because of everything that's going on. Like I'll slip into sadness real fast and just stay there all day.
No, I think we all do.
To Closer by Guapale. I really, really love that song. I've listened to Confetti by Tori Kelly. I don't know if a lot of people know that song.
I don't know that one. I have to look that one up.
It's a really positive song. Both of those songs are like dedicated to dreamers. And then there's Hope, India Arie. That song just like makes me happy. I can listen to it first thing in the morning when I wake up, and my mood will be set for the day.
Got it. Wow. So that's dope. So real quick, we had one question that I definitely wanted where it was, what was the name of the book you mentioned earlier?
Which one? Oh, Sister Citizen by Melissa Harris Perry.
Okay.
I think it's like a millennial Black feminist staple because she talks about so many things that like are current for us even in 2020. It's such a great book. Yeah, I have like a lot of books. I did a while ago. I'm gonna post it in my story after we get off here. I did like a whole book list of things that I read while I was coming into myself when I first started this journey, and I think it's a great way to start. Yeah, so I'll definitely post that in my story. So just come to my page after this, and I'll repost it in my story.
Got it.
It's like 25 books.
No, that's dope. Yeah, that's really dope.
Yeah.
So I guess one other question, like, what would you recommend for people that are trying to like be patient with themselves during this whole process?
Honestly, you can't surround yourself with like anybody, not even on social media, who is constantly like pushing people to produce. Like, oh, you need to start a business, you need to do this, you need to do that, telling you what to do in this time, because only you know what'll make you happy right now, and only you know how to find peace in this current moment. So don't take the pressure from anyone else. Someone else may be finishing their website or writing that book or whatever, but you don't have to do that.
Got it.
So yeah. That's something that's like really, really sitting with me. And anybody who makes me feel guilty about watching Hulu and Netflix all day long, like I just won't talk to them.
Yeah. No, it's important. Like you gotta like, you know, protect your spirit, like protect your energy. Like I'm big on that. Like at all costs, like you have to protect your soul.
Exactly. And you may not want to mute, like you may not want to completely unfollow people on social media, but you can definitely mute them as long as we're quarantining. Like you can mute them, just tell them to be quiet for this current moment. You know, that's just all you got to do. It's all about finding what you want right now and then prioritizing that. And anybody else that tries to get you to like, you know, go away from that.
Yeah.
No.
Got it. So I guess like one of the things that I definitely wanted to ask or kind of like learn a little bit more about was like it's interesting, right? Because I'll tell you, I talked to like some of my guy friends or whatever, and you know, a lot of them are kind of caught within one construct, right? Where they're like, they want like a freak in the bedroom and like, you know, like a nice little professional lady that no one knows about, right? But on that same token, right, when they're talking about their daughter, they almost like see their daughter as like pure energy, pure joy, pure love, like something like kind of like uninterrupted, right? Like uninterrupted, all natural, all like pure, right?
Yeah.
From a Black and what I think what a lot of us know, kind of, since this is, you know, basically all Black folk, is like we can be generally conservative a lot of times, right? Like how do you then like what's that process for like young Black women who are kind of like now beginning to kind of like learn what pleasure means for them, right? It's even weird. Like a lot of times, like women are only comfortable even talking about vibrators amongst themselves, right? So like when I was, and I'll tell you, like I'm in the condom game, right? Like all I do is push rubber, right? Like I push rubber, I condom rubber. I sponsor adult events, I sponsor school events, but like you can find me anywhere at any given time, right? But like when I looked at the getting into vibrators, like women were really kind of like I was taboo.
Yeah, that's why it's tucked in the back of certain stores, you know.
Yeah. Like and then I think one part of it was like from the male-female perspective, right? Like there's always that assumption that like the guy's judging me or the guy's doing this or that or whatever. But like for me, I was looking at it from like, okay, we got distribution, you know, like these types of issues that like, you know, we can be able to place more products that really address women from like a female side. But like, what do you tell that Black female or that Black woman that's now kind of going through that process of learning what joy really is? Like, what does enjoying my body mean? Like, is it okay to masturbate? Is it okay to begin to use vibrators? Like, yeah, I can do that without having guilt. Like, is it okay for me to have sex whenever I want to have sex with whoever I want to have sex with, or how many people it is? Like, what's that journey look like? Or what would you recommend for somebody going through that journey?
Honestly, this is the first one. A lot of sex toy companies send products in very discreet packaging. And I read that and for reviews alone, like I check the reviews to see like what the packaging is and everything, just because like, you know, you don't want your neighbors in your business, and you damn sure don't want your mom or your dad to be like, what the hell is this from Adam and Eve? You know, like a big dick on the packaging. Like that's so offensive. But when you're first starting out, you kind of want to take it easy, take baby steps. You want to order something and maybe order it to your best friend's house. Of course, not right now while we're quarantined, but you want to like take time to figure out what you actually want to tap into before you start investing a lot of money into toys and stuff like that. Amazon has like some cheaper options for toys and some beginner toys, and there are so many different companies that I love, like Unbound Babes, that have like information and educational tools on their websites to teach you like how to use certain things. So I learned really young that I was like mostly clitoral when it comes to stimulation. So I started to focus on those kind of things, and then introducing it to my partner was a journey in itself.
And that's a really big thing, right? Like almost like within a relationship, like what's that discussion look like, right? Like we hear from like a condom side, as opposed, in addition to like, how do you begin to kind of grow and expand your relationship in the areas that you don't know what they're gonna what they're gonna say. You may not know how to put it out. Like, what do you recommend on that side? Because part of even that finding your voice is like, yo, I like this. What is that?
Yeah. It's honestly about trust. I used to think that I could just be casual and just go about it, having sex with a lot of people and stuff. Well, not a lot of people, because I never was really on that. But I used to think that you could just have chemistry right away with somebody and everything would be okay. But now I really prioritize like designated partners, just so that you feel comfortable. You start to develop a language with that person. It's only you and that person in the room. So you can tell them like, look, I figured out that I like clitoral stimulation, so I bought this little bullet or this vibe to incorporate during sex. It's only me and you in here. Them dudes you play basketball with not gonna be like, oh, see, you can't make her come, you lame, or oh, I would have been dogging her. You know, like you don't. It's nobody in the room but me and you. So let's just go all the way and try to figure out how to please each other and please ourselves in the process.
Got it. Now I just really want to add in. I'll add in another comment. Like, if anybody has any questions right now, we're speaking to Tasneem, Black Hoodrat Feminist. She's definitely educating me and hopefully, you know, helping educate our followers on like what Black femininity is, and you know the process and journey of being able to find your voice and also learn more about your body and your sensual and your spiritual self. So hold on, we got another question somebody put up. Oh, we got a couple. Here goes the first one. Do you have any toy recommendations?
I do. So I really like it. One of my first toys, because my boyfriend used to send me toys when I was staying in Atlanta and he was in Jersey. He would just send me stuff and surprise me. So on Amazon, I'm not going to tell you specific brands because it really doesn't matter. It's just all about like trying the toy, and you want to start cheaper, in my opinion, just because you don't know if you like it yet. You don't want to spend $150 on a wand. Sorry, I can get it out there. You don't want to spend $150 on a wand. You want to like, I really like suction toys. So toys that are supposed to mimic cunnilingus. Those are some of my favorites. I love a wand. It's very simple. You just look it up, a vibrating wand on Amazon, and you'll find something. Look at the reviews. Reviews are very, very important, just because the other people's experience, of course, won't be identical to yours. But if everybody is saying like, this is a piece of shit, as soon as I got in the bathtub, it exploded. Like, no, you don't want to order that. But I really recommend
like,
a wand or a
is that really
toy.
common? Like, have you ever like kind of invested in a vibrator and then you're just like, oh my God, like terrible experience?
Yeah, back in the day when I used to buy stuff from like Spencer's and all those shitty stores, like Hot Topic, I used to go in the back and get them little battery powered toys. I was like 17 buying those toys, and they would just conk out and the silicone be all stank. I was just like, oh no, it was horrible. But now that I'm older, I like to order like waterproof toys. It's really about the features that you're looking for. If you know you're going to try to do it in the bathtub, try to get something waterproof. If you figured out that you're clitoral, then definitely get like vibrating toys, things that aren't, you know, that don't require you to go inside your vagina, especially if you want to incorporate it with a partner.
Yeah.
I tried this toy from Ioba Toys. It was on my GG spot massager. That's the only brand because I have a relationship with them. I feel comfortable actually recommending. It was a really cool toy, a little large for my taste, but it was good. Yeah.
Got it. So hold on. We got another question, and if anybody has any additional questions, don't hesitate to post them. Here goes another one.
Sexuality. Well, that's a good question. Honestly, I went to college.
Okay, just for anybody that didn't see it, like the question is, what made Hood Feminist start her journey to embrace feminism and sexuality?
Yeah, I was in a introduction to feminist thought and action course at the New School, and I just realized that Black women were missing from all of the literature. We were missing from every class discussion, but I knew that we had a space here, and so I started to identify like Black women who were writing for us, and then I tried to figure out a way to bring it back to my community because I commuted to college. So I was going home to East Orange, New Jersey on the bus every single day. And I was seeing like, everybody. I was seeing the whole hood on my way home, in my way to school. So I was just like, yo, I would be on the bus.
Because New School is right by Union Square, right?
Exactly. So people would be eating like honey buns and shit on the bus. I would see a bunch of high school kids in the morning, girls, with their hot Cheetos and juice and stuff. Then I would get to class and all the white girls were drinking their green juice and coming in with the bagel and avocado. And I was like, hold on. Like, these things are accessible to us, especially feminism. Like, I think Black girls from the hood need feminism as much as anyone else. I think it's just so necessary because when I was in high school, there were so many things going on. Like, the girls was getting trains run on them, and I wasn't sure if they knew what consent actually was, if they actually wanted to be a part of these experiences, or were they being coerced? Like, what was going on? And so when I went to school, I was like, oh, hell no. I'm going to find a way to include us in this because we need it.
God. So let me kind of follow up on that in your experience at New School. Now, in terms of is there kind of like a stark difference between like Black feminism and white feminism in terms of how between like the races and the relationships between like the Black man and Black female and like the white man and the white female? And also like, and how does that, what type of impact does that also have on health?
Honestly, I think like one Black man said one time, feminism isn't for Black women, and everybody just was like, you right. And they just kind of took it as law, but and they just agreed with it. No, go ahead.
No, because everybody's heard that quote, right? Because I think that the belief was there was always a lot more parity within the Black household than there may have been within white households. Like, whereas, with white men, it's always been like they were always allowed to work, and then the woman would have had to stay at home,
Exactly.
That's
exactly what I was
the Black man really ain't ever had jobs and nothing like that. Like, we were always kind of repressing, and it was the woman that's always kind of been the staple of the Black household.
Exactly. So that's something like in my introduction to feminist thought and action, that's something that I learned because they were talking about like something called a feminine gaze, which white women in like movie advertisements or advertisements for any product, they weren't allowed to look into the
serious.
I was kind of like, I don't really give a fuck about that. Like, it matters, right? It matters to y'all.
Yeah.
And then they were talking about things, of course, like trying to enter the workforce and trying to get equal wage, but we were never stay-at-home moms. Like, that wasn't something that we could relate on. It was all about them trying to break the glass ceiling. But we've always worked, and we worked for them. Black feminism literally is explaining to us, like, what is oppressing us, because you have to know what's oppressing you in order to beat it, in order to fight it. All of the books. If you read, some foundational feminist texts like from Margin to Center, Bell Hooks, she really talks about focusing in on the Black woman and what we need to be free. What do we need for our own liberation? Like the politics of our bodies, how we were, raped and ravaged in this country. It's constantly talking about now. There is, the Black man who is supposed to be the head of our household, and there's the white woman who everybody tries to oppress Black women. It's like, as long as there's somebody at the bottom, then I can feel like I'm on top. So you need to equip yourself with the tools to be able to fight that oppression.
Got it.
But that doesn't require the, demolition of your family. It doesn't require for you to, I'm a woman and I don't give a damn about no men and nothing like that, because at the end of the day, we are still mothers of Black sons. We're wives, we're sisters. And we understand the importance of our community rising to the next level and being able to fight oppression. But at the end of the day, if we're not okay while doing it, and if we're not safe in our own communities, how can we actually do that?
No, makes perfect sense.
That's what Black feminism is. It's about getting it together.
I've always said there's never been one strong institution in the Black community that hasn't been upheld by Black women. If you look at Marcus Garvey, like that whole movement was Black women. You look at like, you cannot like, not to knock my brothers or nothing like that, but like the Black women have been the workhorse behind every major movement, and that has been able to push us further ahead.
Exactly.
So I ain't got nothing but love for my Black women, but I'll add on it. we had some more questions in here, so hold on. Okay. Here goes one of them. Which is, the question is, has being sexually free-spirited intimidated anyone you've dated?
Well, I've always been in relationships, even before I came into myself, when I was like more shy, before I even started reading any feminist text, I was in relationships. And then when I really started learning, I got into a relationship with a grown ass man.
What's that mean? Like, hold on.
Someone who understands that
when somebody says I'm a grown ass man, like what is that?
Yeah, like, okay, so this is a man who understands.
How old were you at that point?
I was 18 and he was 23. So like, he was a little older than me, but he wasn't old as hell, but he was older than me. And so being a grown ass man had nothing to do with his age. It had everything to do with his maturity and understanding that me coming into myself and becoming a woman is not going to, take away from his manhood, or I'm not belittling him.
Got it.
So no, he was never intimidated. He always used to say like, yo, like, you're my girl and I'm in a committed relationship. So if I'm going to be in a monogamous relationship, me being sexually free-spirited, he gets to reap all the benefits. Every time I bring a new lube into the crib, like, he's the one who gets to slip and slide. Like, whenever I introduce a new toy, he's the one that gets to watch it in action. So it's a beautiful experience to be able to have with somebody. And if I was to introduce it to somebody I was dating back in the day, I'm sure they would have been like, oh, hell no, all that shit you trying to do, you on some bullshit, you need to chill out. No, then I wouldn't be with them. 23-year-old me wouldn't be with them. 18, maybe 16, 17, probably. I would be like, okay, well, you don't like it, so I'm not going to do it no more. No, now I'm grown as hell. Like, come on now. We all grown.
Yeah. Hold on, I love that. Hold on. We got a couple more questions. Right here.
What type of condom you think brings the most pleasure? Ribbed, studded, thin, or... I kind of want you to answer that question.
I'll tell you, a lot of times it's kind of just dependent upon like the experience that somebody wants. All right. Like, for the people that don't know, like, we sell about 12 different types of condoms. We only have 2 of them on like that are for like consumers or people that buy retail. But like, we have thin, we have ribbed, we got studded, we got flavored, we got tropical colors, we got extra large, extra strength. Like, you name the type of condom, we probably got it, right? And I think a lot of times it kind of depends upon like the experience, right? Like, one good thing about us is, we invest heavily in the product, right? Because I'm of the mindset that the same way, like, let's say like you're an athlete, right? Like, there's a reason why a lot of athletes wear Jordan shoes, right? And there's a reason why Tiger Woods uses a certain set of clubs, right? Like, if you want better performance, you got to invest in better products, right? So like, a lot of times you can't necessarily invest in a cheap condom and you're going to put all that weight on yourself to have to perform. Like, everybody needs a little bit of assistance, right? So one good thing about our condom is, not to say it promises performance, because of course we can't do that part, but we make a better product. So I think a better product leads to better performance. And that really comes down to, well, how well do you know your woman's body, right? Like some people like ribs, right? Like the way, you know, kind of like them ribs like rub against their insides, right? Some people like extra lubricated, right? Because sometimes you may have to add a little bit of lube, or like they may have different issues that they're dealing with internally. You know, I think it all depends upon, you know, what is the experience that you're going for in that one time. And then be able to take it from there. Like with the men that you've dated, or with the relationships that you've been in, right? Have you always kind of used one type of condom? Or have you
pretty much.
Switched?
I remember back in the day, like everybody would bring a Magnum condom, the gold pack. Like they would bring that to the room, and most of them couldn't fit it. So we would always end up having some issues, just because as a community we were less than. So I really like bare skin kind of condoms, like real, you know, thin condoms. I want to feel, you know, the maximum experience. And in committed relationships, I'm someone that doesn't use them regularly, even though that I should. I don't recommend that. I definitely recommend, like, even in a committed relationship, using them. But I think, you know, I haven't tried studded.
No.
I've tried ribs, I've tried thin, but studded, nah.
Okay, well, we'll definitely try to get you some after this.
Please do, and I will give a review.
And all of that.
I'll give a play-by-play of what happened.
Yeah. So hold on, we got a couple of more questions. This one is,
what age do you feel is appropriate to talk about stimulating arousal for thyself? Honestly, I think that is a very controversial question, only because, you know, I started having sex when I was 14, and I don't recommend people start having sex when they're 14, but it happened. Yeah, it happened. And so, you know, if an adult would have asked me, was I having sex? My mother used to ask me all the time. I would say, no, damn, you know, look, I was having sex the entire time, just lying my ass off. So I think whenever you start feelings, when you start, you know, feeling aroused, you start feeling pleasure for the first time, and you don't really know what to do, I think that's the perfect opportunity to start exploring your own body. I used to be under the faucet in the bathtub when I was a kid, like before I could get toys or anything like that. I was already doing that, and I had to be like 13 years old. So it's all about experimenting and just figuring out for yourself when you're ready. You don't have to have sex with another person. You don't have to have partner sex. I think the best introduction is yourself. And then you could give you could give some instructions when you actually start having partner sex, like, go slow, do it like this, do it like that, because you know.
And that's important. And anybody that has like any questions, feel free to post your questions, and we're definitely going to try to make sure to get to them all. But it's interesting, because what you're basically talking about is not only that sexual journey, but like that emotional journey, and kind of like how to balance that all off. To finally get to that point where, like, you know, you're one with your whole experience.
Yes.
So hold on. We got another question.
What would you say to someone who thinks that toys make you disconnect more during sex without one? I honestly think that's a great question. I think it depends on the kind of toy, because a lot of people talk about like vibrating toys and getting desensitized, like your clit doesn't feel as much as it used to. That is false. It's not true. If you use anything like too much, it's gonna change the way you feel. But if you stop using it for 2 weeks and come back to it, it's gonna feel exactly the same way that it used to feel. So it's just all about like trying things and being honest with that person. You don't disconnect. And honestly, there are toys that don't vibrate. So like I really, really love glass. I love glass dildos. I think they are amazing. I'm trying to invest in like some crystal dildos. Glass ones. Honestly, like I gotta get a little, you know, XXX, but it's like a dick that doesn't get soft. That's the kind of pressure it feels like. I'm not even into like penetrative toys, but glass dildos, it's that work. And if you're using it, like if your partner holds it and uses it for you, it's great. So I don't think you disconnect. I think it honestly just warms things up. It gets things started. Yeah.
Now, what I guess what tips would you give to somebody looking to kind of like transition their relationship into that side?
I think,
Because like
better on that.
I'll tell you, like I've had male friends, right, where it's like when like one of them was telling me like how like the woman that he currently dates, right, when he first started dating her, like she was like addicted to using her vibrator, right, like
Yeah.
and like
It be like that sometimes. Go ahead.
like legit, like she almost had to like detox herself off of the and I'm like he's like, yeah, I'm like, yeah, some things like you still got to protect male masculinity and all of that.
Right,
And he's
right.
like,
I get all of that.
but for her it was just a lot easier, a lot less stress, and it was basically what she had already become comfortable with before he
Exactly.
had that whole relationship. So then it was like a matter of them transitioning from like her using a vibrator and him like watching porn and beating his meat,
Right.
like to them having to find like that sexual chemistry between each other, even though the relationship part was there.
I think that's the key right there. It's about just finding that chemistry and also just being honest. Like, in order to start venturing into that territory, like if you dealing with a straight man and all his macho shit, like make him dinner, pour him a drink, if you drink dark liquor, like get the Douce going, get the Hennessy going, light some candles, turn on some music, and just introduce it real cute and like subtle, like I want to try something new, make it real sexy, make it like it's an experience for the both of y'all, even though it's really going to enhance for you. It is for him too, because once you get into it, you in your body and you really feeling yourself and the experience, he's going to feel it. You're going to start gripping different. It's just going to feel, it's going to be a totally different experience. So once he sees it for the first time, hopefully if it's a good experience, y'all can continue to grow into it. Y'all can continue to try new toys. He's going to be coming to you like, babe, did you see this one? The Gluck Gluck Master 3000? Like, he's going to be coming to you with all kind of crazy stuff. Because it's toys for men too. I've seen like different sleeves that you could use, like put the lube into it, and it's all kind of stuff on the market, okay? So it's not just about prioritizing pleasure for people with vulvas. It's about everybody. Everybody can have a piece.
Yeah. All right, so hold on. We got some more questions. Hold on. Right here.
How have you managed to maintain a sexual relationship in a long-distance partnership? Well, I haven't had to manage that because my partner and I live together, but I've been in a long-distance relationship before, and we used to get real creative on FaceTime. We used to send random videos, shower videos, just all kind of stuff to keep it spicy. Videos really helped a lot, like videos and photos, just randomly, because once you get used to being with somebody, those things tend to stop. You stop doing the spontaneous things that you used to. And a long distance relationship is the perfect opportunity to introduce those old things that you knew he or she really liked or they really liked.
Got it.
Yeah.
Now, talking about like the relationships and like the different kind of experiences, how, like, what's that process with like learning your partner's kind of like love language, right? Like, because like a lot of times it's a matter of communication, but it's also kind of a matter of kind of like people being patient and kind of like, all right, I like without necessarily bringing pride into the bedroom, right? Like, so what's that look like? Like, what would you recommend for people trying to maneuver into that space?
It's all about figuring out the perfect communication method for you. Like 2 years ago, my partner and I literally wrote care instructions for each other. And I talk about this, like, no matter who I'm talking to, I always talk about this. But we got on our phones, computer, whatever, and typed out, like, instructions. The same way if your neighbor had to take care of your plants, you would leave them instructions. Water it twice a day, or leave it in the sun, or make sure you... Literally,
wow.
a living document. Exactly, it's a living document
on my body and what I like.
Yes, it's a living document. It's not even on sexual. Some of my shit was like, don't talk to me before you brush your teeth in the morning. It was like emotional stuff too. Like, sometimes I tell you to leave me alone when I'm sad, but I don't really want you to leave me alone, like physically. I just want you to stop talking to me. It would be things like that. Like, when I push you away, you could stay in the room. Just leave me alone. Like, don't put your hands on me. Don't try to kiss me, anything like that. Try to make me feel better. I just need you there. It was things like that. Literally writing it out if you are better communicating in that way. Because a lot of us are used to texting. I can't get into an argument with somebody on the phone because I'll start crying and I'll hang up. But in text messages, that blue message is this long. I will send you pages and pages of text messages. So I realized that writing was easier for me. And I asked my partner to do the same thing. And it's really, really helped us. I think even now that we're in quarantine, like, we realize new things about each other. We're going to go right back to that document. If we are ever quarantined together again, this is what we need. This is what, you know. So, yeah, definitely. And if you don't feel comfortable writing, you know, words aren't really your language, like, put a playlist together and talk to that person through music. Like, it's so many different communication methods that can help get your point across.
Wow. That right there is really, really dope. I just want to
maybe I'll post it on my Instagram.
You definitely should.
Yeah, I'll block some things out.
So I just want to mention real quick, you know, we got 10 minutes left before, like, Instagram kind of shuts us down. So anybody that has any questions, you know, we're sitting here today with Tasneem, like, the Hoodrat Feminist, expert in so many different areas, even though she doesn't want me to call her that. And I just want to say so grateful for your time so far.
Yeah,
and
this has been awesome.
So much, because I guess, you know, one of the biggest challenges with any relationship is communication. And then it's like, nobody's a mind reader, right? So it's like, if I don't know unless you tell me, so that if your way of communicating that is to, like, put it on a list, I can only be an A student if I know what the test is.
Exactly.
Right?
And I used to think like that. I used to be like, why he don't know? Like, why? You should just know. You should just know. That's no. That's probably why my parents are divorced. Like, you know, my
like with me, that's like talking to the wall. I don't get those, like.
Yeah, I can't read your mind and you can't read mine. So we might as well just keep it clear, especially if you plan to be with this person. If you want to pursue this person in the long term, you think about marriage or all those kind of things, like, you definitely need to communicate, because it takes much longer to try to figure it out. Yeah.
So hold on, we got some more questions. So anybody has any questions, feel free to post. We're definitely going to be posting them. All right, hold on. We got.
How should I prepare to peg my boyfriend for the first time? Just like we said, communication. You definitely need to keep
the
the
people that don't know what that is,
open.
like, you may want to, like.
Yeah, so it's like a person with a vulva, or, you know, a woman wearing a strap on and penetrating usually a male partner, or someone who is male presenting or who has male parts, penetrating them anally. I hope I wasn't too all over the place.
No.
Yes, that's just,
no, you know, that's open discussion.
Yeah, it requires a lot of comfort. I haven't even done it yet, but just because I've been reading so much over the years, and I've had to really open my mind to everything. I don't yuck anybody's yum, and I think you have to really let that person know it's just me and you in here. Especially when you come from communities like the one I come from. I come from the hood. Like, if somebody was to find out, I saw it on Twitter the other day, someone got exposed. Their ex-girlfriend was mad at them and actually posted a video of that experience, of, like, him performing fellatio on a strap-on. And people were just in the comments just talking about his sexuality, calling him gay and all these things. But, like, if you violate that trust, that's on you, and you have to wear that. Like, that's honestly disgraceful. So communication, creating a comfortable environment for y'all to do that. Definitely exploring different lubes. Like, that's very, very important, because you're going to have to try to figure out what sets them at ease, like what gets them ready to experience something they may have never experienced before. Set the mood, play some music, you know, a little massage beforehand, because you really want them to be comfortable. You want them to feel in their body. You want them to be present in that space with just you. So I think a massage would be amazing. Like, just really preparing. Let them know it's all fun and games. You do it to me, I'm going to do it to you. Yeah.
All right, we gonna go.
It's definitely like, it's hard for Black people to talk about stuff like that.
yeah, I'm definitely open minded. I'm a regular dude, but there's some things I'm like,
Yeah,
for me
yeah.
that's not my cup of tea, right? So like,
And that's a part of the exploration too, and I think that's amazing that you just said that. It's
yeah,
okay
I can
to
only
not like
talk for
shit.
like.
Yeah, you might get with a freak ass person who introduces you to some shit that you never want to do again. It's okay to communicate that. You're not any less of a baddie. You know, you're not any less of a man to tell someone like, nah, I'm not really with that. Unless, you know, it's
no,
bullshit.
no, I'll tell you, right? Like, and I always like to tell this one funny story, right? And we got 6 minutes, so I want to make sure to kind of get this one in, and then with a couple other questions that people ask.
Okay.
Me. So like we used to sponsor some like swinger clubs, right? You know, like I'm the condom guy, I sponsor, so you know I gotta show up and represent the brand at some of these places, right? So there was one time we sponsored one of these events in New York, and at the events like they had like an open bar, right? So but you know, kind of like they have like a little stool area, but in the stool area was actually like a guy wrapped up in a blanket, right? Like laying on the floor right in front of the stool. And people were expected to like stand on him when you get to the bar to order your drinks, right? And this dude literally paid the woman who puts on like the swinger parties or whatever that we were sponsoring to wrap himself up in like a rub/blanket with a little thing on his face so he could breathe and have people step on him because that's how he got off.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah.
I was like,
you learn all kind of things about yourself on this journey.
You just realize like everybody's normal ain't the same normal, right? Like, and some things that may get you off or whatever don't, like, different people got different experiences and they got different
strokes for different folks.
And different strokes for different folks.
Yeah.
But like that right there, I was like, whoa, like there's different levels to the game, right? Like I don't know what level that was on, but I wasn't on. That was a little past my level. But hold on.
And someone said poppers. I've never used them. So if you want to introduce that to your exploration, like sure, but I've never used them, so I can't speak to that.
All right, hold on.
Your rhymes are dope. When the next freestyle dropping? Thank you. I love hip hop. I love rap so much. So like, if I don't feel like I'm excellent at it, I'd be like, I don't really want to do it. I'm not motivated to do it. But I'm trying to grow more as just like a lyricist. So yeah, you probably can expect some more stuff because, like I said, I've been growing on display for a very long time. Okay. So I'm definitely probably soon I'll drop some more music. I'm thinking about dropping a mixtape in the summertime. I'm not gonna say the title yet because it's very funny to me. But yeah, I'll probably drop a mixtape.
Oh, that's what's up. And any expected date or whatever that we should be looking out for that, or like?
Honestly, like now I probably could drop anytime. I probably could just, you know, I want to do like a bunch of different covers and remixes and stuff like that. So maybe June, July. Yeah.
Okay.
It's going to be fun. I'm trying to do no pressure. Just fun. Thank you.
Let us know. Yeah, let us know.
Thank you all. Yeah, like my little rapping. I should be like, I'll be cringing at it when I watch it now, but I like rapping. It's fun.
Oh, that's dope. So you know, we only got like 3 more minutes left before kind of like Instagram shuts us down. So I just wanted to say, you know, if anybody has any other questions, any last questions, like either ask now or for
you can DM me too. I'm like an open book. If I feel comfortable.
Oh yeah, let people know exactly where. Hold on, let me close this out. Let people know exactly where they can find you.
Yeah, so I'm Hoodrat Feminist on Instagram and Twitter. I'm dropping my website kind of soon, which is going to be like more anonymous. Yeah, so it's going to be like more anonymous where you can actually make a profile on my website and like just talk to each other and me. And that'll probably be out like in the next couple of weeks. But until then, thank you. We love my podcast. Thank you. Yeah, my podcast, I talk about the same kind of stuff I was talking about right now. It's called The Pleasure Pusher with Mahogany Brown. It is everywhere you can find podcasts. But yeah, my DM, like, it's always buzzing. Like, even when I don't post nothing, like, I could not be on Instagram for like a week straight and I'll still have like 12 DMs, like, in my message request. And I try to do my best to answer all of them. So if you ask me a question, I have some questions right now I'm probably about to go answer. But yeah.
Got it.
I love to talk.
Nah, you got a lot of stories, man. You're an amazing storyteller.
Oh, you watch my YouTube channel. Thank you. We didn't post nothing today, but we might. Yeah, Tuesday is usually when we do the damn thing. Taz and Tay is my partner and I's YouTube. When we talk about this kind of stuff too. Everywhere we go, we talk about this kind of stuff. Yeah.
No, that's dope. That's dope. So thank you
Screenshot
so
this.
so
That was
much.
nice.
Definitely make sure everybody make sure to follow her. I
Please.
just want to say thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for
so much
having
for your
me. And
energy.
I think Taryn.
Yeah,
Taryn is the one who got me linked. Thank you.
Yeah. She definitely handles things on our side so well. But I just want to say thank you so much for this opportunity. Let's definitely keep in touch. Let's definitely link.
Definitely. I love what you're doing. A black man promoting condoms. My father got a lot of kids, so I really appreciate that.
And anytime you're back in the A, by that time, our headquarters and all of that should be set up. Yeah. So definitely, come through the headquarters.
And my mom is there, so I'll be there soon.
Yeah. Nah, that'll be real cool. But just wanted to say thank you so much again. And we'll definitely be
having me.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in.
Enjoy your night.
All right. You too.